Welcome to Baby Narc. After sexting Amy, he stopped the love bombing, and then he was actually just pretty normal and cool. Um, of course, I still didn't live here, still 2,000 miles away, whatever. And everything we did was, by the phone. Although I live here and we still have a phone relationship. It's crazy. It's crazy. Um, but he was pretty normal and pretty cool, and we got along, and everything was, I every time he's cool, it tricks me into believing that everything that he did before was just some weird thing, and that's not who he is. But of course, I'm obviously wrong with that. We're talking. It's not love bombing. It's not incessant talking, because when he's love bombing me, he calls me 24/7. It just never ends. But everything is being normal, and for like a month or two, I plan another trip to come see him, and stupidly, I did actually book the flight. And to come see him for even just a few days, I can't just do a weekend, because flying to and from takes a whole day. So I have to take off at least one day of work plus a weekend. It is an inconvenience for me. And of course, because he back then lived so far away, flights weren't cheap, and you have to plan it out. You can't just jump on a plane, because that's even more expensive. So I buy his ticket, and we talk about it, and everything is cool. Like, he's being cool, I'm being cool, the whole thing is just normal, whatever. Then he ghosts me. He ghosted me for about a month. And like I said, these plane rides, like I said, I don't just book them, for the next day. It takes a while. I had a job at the time that it was actually hard to take off work. So I couldn't even plan it for a couple of days or weeks ahead. It was literally, I think this plane trip, I could be wrong, but I think it was about 2 months away. So for the first month of me booking the flight, everything's fine. Then he ghosts me for a month. And I was just about to, get a refund. And he calls me up in the middle of the night. Not too late, but about 11:30, 12 o'clock, midnight. And he's leaving me all these messages, and then he, we do speak on the phone, and he apologizes that the reason he's disappeared is because he's been living with a girl named Samantha. Now, I had never heard of Samantha. I knew about Shelley, but we had never talked about Samantha. I don't think he even mentioned her. If he would have mentioned her, I would have been like, who the fuck is that? I'm so jealous. And by the way, I'm not a jealous girl. I'm really not. I'm not a jealous, irrational person. I'm very cool. I'm very easy to get along with. I don't trip out on things. In fact, where other people would trip out, I usually don't. I always give people the benefit of the doubt. I always give people the opportunity to explain themselves. I don't just jump to conclusions. But at this point, he's made me a raging, jealous, insane girl. So in the middle of in the phone conversation, he always hangs up on me. And so, of course, I'm like, who the fuck is Samantha? What do you mean you're living with some girl, blah, blah, blah. So I start going off. Well, he hangs up on me, because he don't want to hear it. Then he continues to text me, and explaining Samantha is Shelley's sister. He's been in love with her for 20 years, whatever he said. And she's a junkie too. They all are. Man, I gotta get away from these junkies. I guess I feel sorry for these people, and I think I'm going to rescue them in some sort of way. I don't know. I don't know what my deal is. I mean, clearly I have mental problems too, because why would I even mess around with these kind of people? But she's junky, and she hadn't seen him in a while, and she called him up, and she's clean and sober now, and she needs a roommate. Now this is all text messages, and so I got to decipher some of the stuff that he's saying, but the basis of this whole thing was he felt like this was an opportunity to be with this other chick that he's been in love with for so long. So he's going on and on about how she needs this roommate, but then he starts talking. Okay, so now he switches the conversation. And of course, I shouldn't call it a conversation. I should just call it blasting me with 1,000 text messages. Then he explains that they've been hanging out and they promised each other no drugs. Everything was fine for this month that he's now ghosted me. I hadn't heard from him. Everything is great between them, but the night before that he's calling me, so he's speaking of last night, or maybe he meant, I don't know what he meant. I don't know if he meant a couple of hours ago or literally like the day before. I don't know. And they're driving to the bar. He's driving, and she's like, let's go get some weed. And he's like, okay. So they start driving to whoever they get their weed from. And then she says, well, it stays in your system for a long time. Maybe we shouldn't do that, but whatever. And then she starts telling him where to turn. And so she's like, turn here, turn there, blah, 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 blah. Then he parks in front of this house, and she says, I'm going to run in. When I flash the lights, it means you can come in. So, freaking crack house. And in his text message, he's saying, how could she do this to me? We promised each other no drugs. We were both sober for a month. She fucked me over again. I fucking hate her. I can't believe she did this to me. Blah, 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 blah. Going on and on. And so he ghosts me, the perfect girl for him, to move in with this, fucking piece of shit, because that's what she is. In fact, I call her Shitmantha. I'm going to name this video Shitmantha, because every time I refer to her when I'm talking to him, even though he gets mad at me, I don't care. I call her Shitmantha. Okay, so now here's where the story gets even crazier. Now he's back on the dope. Now, what they were doing, I don't, he does everything. So were they doing meth? Were they doing crack? Were they doing cocaine? Were they doing heroin? Were they doing, speedballs? I mean, whatever. I mean, who knows? I mean, freaking drinking freaking bleach. I mean, I don't know what these people do. So whatever they're on, now he's doing this weird thing where instead of love bombing me by a million texts, now he's texting me like crazy and calling me for the next 2 days. And he's still living with her. And now he is saying, I can't believe I got myself into this situation. I shouldn't have moved in here, blah, 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 blah. And I guess in some sort of weird, sick, demented, manipulative way, he's trying to somehow, he's not apologizing to me. He doesn't care that he hurt me. He's basically just bombarding me with like his guilt. I'm just somebody to listen to him talk about how he made this mistake. It's not like, baby, I made this mistake. I shouldn't have done this to you, to us. No, it's not like that. It's like, I mean, he's just reporting to me because I'm the only one who's dumb enough to listen to his shit. So the next 2 days, now he's still living there. And why am I even talking to him? Why? What the fuck? And I keep telling him, baby, I've got this plane ticket. I was supposed to come see you. What's going to happen with that? Blah, 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 blah. And of course, he just kind of ignores me because he doesn't want to talk about it. And I'm so fucking dumb, man. This part, I always get mad at myself for how I've let him hurt me. And then sometimes I think, well, there was a reason that I did it. But this time I had no excuse. I'm ashamed of myself. This is the absolute 100% time that I should have changed my phone number and never talked to this fucking mean, sadistic, horrible fucking human. I should have, come on, what the fuck is wrong with me? This should have been it. Okay. So I do start getting kind of like, I do listen to him because I'm curious about what the fuck is going on. So I'm trying to, once I get the story straight, then I do kind of like don't answer any more of his messages anymore because now I'm just so hurt. And I was about to, get my plane refund. And, I'm just like, I was done with this dude at this point. Well, he feels it or knows it. Then he calls me up and he's crying. And he says, then he kind of alludes to, it doesn't flat out say it, but alludes to, I shouldn't have done this to us. What was I thinking? And this girl doesn't love me the way you do. I mean, he did say that, he's like, she doesn't love me. You're the only one who loves me. Of course, he won't ever say, I love you. It's just, you're the one who loves me. And I'm like, whatever. And then I said, does she know you're on the phone with me? Because I'm like, you're bombarding me with all this shit, and you living with her. So, what is she like sitting next to you? Whatever. He says, no. She left for the weekend to go with her baby daddy. I'm like, okay. So you're using me again. So you're only talking to me because she ain't around. Not she's not around and you're taking the opportunity to apologize to me for what you've done to me again, but she just ain't around to talk to, so I'm the only idiot who will talk to you. Oh my goodness. So I just kind of talked to, I kind of get the whole gist of the story to make myself understand what's going on, and then I won't answer his phone calls for like a day or two. And I was just about to, I know I keep saying that, but I was just about to get my plane refund. Then he sends me this video. He's in the hospital. And I'm like, oh my God. He had gotten so sick. So that's the thing that I kind of understand about drug addicts. And I guess this is why a lot of people overdose. I think what happens, or after they've been sober, then they overdose. I think what happens is once you've been sober for a little bit of time and your body gets rid of all that poison and then you use again, you're using the same amount that you did before. And I think your body freaks out. So he had been clean for at least a month and then started using again hardcore because, everything is either 0 or 100% with him. And he gets pneumonia, and he gets it so freaking bad that he had to have surgery on his lung. They had to take like a little tiny piece of his lung, remove it. It was so damaged. Now, it was probably damaged from years of abuse, but I guess him getting so sick that once they, he wouldn't get well. So once they decided that they should do surgery, they probably got in there and discovered that, wow, he's really got lung damage. So, they took a little piece of his lung out. His lung, Okay, so now he's like, baby, baby, please come see me, And now he's so fucking weird. And of course, he's a mental basket case even without the drugs. And he's a fucking idiot. So I don't know if he forgot that I had this plane ticket, even though we had talked about it several times. Actually, you know what? Looking back, I talked about it. You didn't talk about it. I talked about it. Let's get real. Please come see me. I don't know what's going to happen. I've never had surgery before, freaking out, blah, blah, blah. And of course, that pulls at my heartstrings. And of course, I love him still, even though he just continues to fucking destroy me. So I still have this plane ticket, so I change it. Now, I wasn't supposed to come yet, but I changed. I was supposed to come in like maybe 2 weeks. And so I was able to, and I had to pay extra money, by the way. So I changed the date so that I could get there. So I fly here. And on the plane, I'm crying and I'm thinking to myself, you know what? I might get there and he might be fucking dead. I don't know. I get on the plane, fly there. I'm all upset, blah, 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 blah. I get into town and then I start calling him because I know what hospital, but I don't know what room. He never tells me. And I'm thinking, after surgery, hell, he might be fucking, out, not, conscious. And I get into town and I'm calling like crazy to try to get a hold of him to find out where, I know what hospital, but I don't know where, like which room. He won't answer. So I call the hospital and, tell him his name and they tell me what room and number. So I take an Uber and get there as fast as I can. And I get there and he's totally awake. He has his surgery. Now he's all hooked up to this weird like machine thing that's, I guess, draining his gross fluids out, whatever, he's hooked up to stuff. He's totally awake and he's on his phone. He's actually talking to somebody on his phone when I go in the room. Now, remember, we haven't seen each other yet. Right? Other than, videos and FaceTime and stuff. But we haven't seen each other in person yet. I go in the room and I looked hot. I have this thing about red dresses. Must be my thing. So I'm in another hot red dress. And I go in the room and he's like, oh, hey. And he kind of acts like, what are you doing here? Now he's all on all kinds of drugs, painkillers and stuff. And, whatever. But, so he knew that I was calling him I started calling him on the plane. And then, that was probably like an hour or so, because you can't use your phone on the plane the whole time. But once we get real close to getting here, so an hour or so on the plane trying to call him. And then I get into the airport and then I'm trying to call him, trying to find out where he is exactly. And, he got all those phone calls. What a fucking bastard. What a fucking bastard. Now, remember, he asked me to come here. So he had somehow forgot all about the plane ticket that I had bought to come see him anyway. Forgot about that. But now that he's about to have this surgery and he's calling me and sending me videos and, please come see me. I'm about to have this surgery. I'm so scared. He asked me to come here. Whatever. So we get in the room and here's the crazy thing. We actually had a good time. It was actually kind of fun. He was funny because, he's on drugs. And, we had a good time. And then one of his friends shows up. And this guy I knew from back when we were teenagers. So that was kind of cool, catching up with him. And Brian, I'm just going to say this real quick, and I'll talk more about how weird, jealous Brian is. But me and this guy, Chris, we're talking and laughing. And, this is a hospital room, so Brian's in the bed, and it was kind of a big hospital room, but there's like a little couchette kind of thing, and then some chairs. So we're all three hanging out, and then me and Chris kind of start talking, and then Brian gets weird, and he's like, well, I'll just let y'all talk. He's so weird, everything is all about him. And we weren't even, it was no weird thing. It wasn't like I was flirting with this guy. We were talking with Brian. I thought everything was cool, but he's so weird. He's so fucking weird. So he says that, and I'm just like, whatever. So we both ignore it. But then, it's fine. Everything was fine. We were all talking, whatever. And then Chris leaves. And then Brian, asked me, he's like, well, are you gonna stay here with me? And this couch thing is like, I knew I'd be so uncomfortable. And then, of course, I don't know if Samantha is going to show up. In fact, the whole time I'm there, I just have that horrible feeling in my stomach that she's just going to walk in the door at any moment. Ugh. And then, of course, other people come to see, it just was weird, and I just didn't want to sit there. So I was like, no, I'm going to get a motel. So he's like, okay. So but I said, I'll come tomorrow and see you before I fly back out. The next day, I'm in the motel room, and I start calling him again and being like, hey, I'm going to come see you. Is it cool? He won't answer. Just like, you fucking asshole. So I take another Uber, go to the hospital the next day, and I get to his hospital room, and he's got this little sign on the door. I mean, from the hospital staff, do not disturb kind of thing, whatever. Like, and of course, he always has his phone with him. So, and of course, he's not unconscious because he's already had his surgery and he was cognizant yesterday. Now, of course, he's awake. Of course, he got my phone calls of me coming to see him another day before I flew out. And I even said that, I'm leaving today, so I'm going to come see you one more time before I leave. I'm going to answer the phone. He's got this do not disturb sign on his door. I almost left. I almost did. I was like, man, you fucking bastard. Horrible. Fuck you. So, and then of course I'm thinking, ooh, maybe Samantha's in there with him. Ugh, it's just horrible. These horrible feelings. Then I'm like, you know what? Fuck him. You know what? I'm here. I went out of my way to see this dude. Whatever. I'm going to fucking march in that room. So I get, I didn't really do that. So I get a hospital person, whatever, a staff member. And I'm like, I'm here to see Brian, blah, blah, blah. Is it okay? And they're like, okay. So the nurse walks in, shuts the door behind her to, I guess, ask him if it was cool that I came in. And so she comes out and she goes, yeah, he said, come on in. So I come in and he's like, hey. And then he's being weird. And so I stayed for a couple hours and we had a good time again. It was cool. And of course, he's got his phone, and he's checking it every minute. So I know what he was doing. Other than other people, because, he wants attention. I'm sure he was trying to get a hold of her. That fucking bitch never went up there. And she lives here. And she's the reason he got sick. So check this out. He later told me that this was in the summertime. You don't normally get pneumonia in the summertime. Not only did she get him to move in because she wanted somebody to help her pay bills, because, she's always got to have a man to help her. Then she promises not to do drugs with him. Then they go in the car and then she tricks him into being like, turn down this street, turn down here, flash the lights, don't come in, okay, come in, so they can get their fucking hardcore drugs. Then they do their hardcore drugs. And then the other weird thing is she told him while he was living there that don't turn the air conditioner off. And he said a couple nights he was freezing cold. So probably what happened is, he's doing these hardcore drugs and, smoking meth, whatever. And then the air conditioner is blasting. She won't let him turn it off. And then he got sick. So she literally is the reason that he got fucking pneumonia and had to have surgery. And then she never came up to see him in the hospital. And she's the one who he loves instead of me. So that's Shitmantha. Now I'll tell you some more stuff about her. But yeah, that was the second time I came to see him. And the first time that I did see him. And terrible. Fucking Shitmantha. Fucking shit Brian. Bye.